Bukola joins me to tell us exactly what you've been talking about across social media. And she hands me my technology, I like to call it.
Yes,
Bukola.
Indeed, Jeffrey. So many things that Nigerians are talking about, and it seems as if that conversation on the Naira is not going away anytime soon.
Exactly.
And for good reason, because it is on the hinges of the Naira that so many other things revolve. You know, price of commodities, which for example, by the way, over the weekend, the National Economic Council insisted that the price of commodities must not be determined by the Naira. But that's simplistic, if you ask me, because the price of fuel has gone up slightly again, and I imagine that is going to impact upon inflation figures for January when it is released, or February when it is released again next month. So
exactly.
Nigerians are talking about the Naira.
There's a lot that Nigerians are talking about. That's why, for now, what I see to be happening is that everybody's trying to look for solution, whether you are in party A or party B. Let's just survive first, then we can start those internal wranglings and fights that we're used to. Right now, the economy is not smiling. It's defying logic. The president yesterday has put together a team. The former president also put together an economic advisory team led by Justice Professor Salami, and people like Bismarck Riwani were in that team. Now this president has also done the same, because solution is what everybody's looking for. So if you have answers to the challenges of our economy, as the president has said, maybe this is the time to come forward, because we need to get out of this. This is a clear description of a quagmire, because they are putting every model they can, but let's see how it plays out at the end of the day. But that's not all people are talking about. They're also talking about ECOWAS making a U-turn. Okay, ECOWAS is making a
very sharp U-turn, by the way.
Yes, I did say there's what we call hard rejection, soft rejection, hard acceptance, soft acceptance. They started with hard rejection. We don't accept this unconstitutional takeover of government. You must hand over. And now they're beginning to tilt towards maybe hard acceptance. Okay, let's have a transition period. I was shocked. I was surprised when the commission chairman said, former president of Niger Republic, Bazoum, because they never referred to him as former president. So you can see international diplomacy is a different kettle of fish. So ECOWAS is beginning to come around the corner to realize that this force ain't going to work, according to Americans.
But Jeffrey, the big question is this a compromise on the commitment of the regional body to democratic principles and ideals? Because there is no, soft peddling on the military regimes in this country. Not from the last time that we checked.
It's a complex conversation, and there are fine lines to it, because you have to look at national sovereignty and all of the elements. But let's find out what the people are saying. Is sure for you, that's the way the person calls, or the name of the person. Well, this is a welcome development, as the aim of ECOWAS is actually for the welfare of the West African province. ECOWAS should look for a reason for coup and not the coup itself. There's no smoke without fire. So that's from Isho for you, talking about ECOWAS lifting sanction.
We hope that there must be honest conversations in that regard when we're talking about the reason for the coups. Well, Femi Olufumilade says, better late than never. Suspending the sanctions on the 3 ECOWAS members is in our national interest as a country. Trade and security relations between us and them can now resume, and ECOWAS is saved. ECOWAS leadership just listened to the plea of a founding father, General Gowon.
This K7 Crypto says that's the best way to go about this. We as Africans must first safeguard our own survival. Whatever differences we have, we should solve amicably. The focus should be on the Congo now, and how we can place the issue of self-preservation for Africa and Africans at the forefront. Bukola.
Yeah, Northern Mayor says a step forward and a key determinant of the unity of the continent as a whole. Again, diplomatic negotiations to curtail further reoccurrences of such on the continent.
Suraj says, to God be the glory. I think ECOWAS has done well considering the unity of West Africa.
And Mohammed Aminu Aliyu says, we should have learned that sanctions don't work. I bet he means. Same mistakes US and EU have made several times.
Now, this is coming from Kishel Godwin. He says, what they would have done since, what they would have done since was dialogue. a lot of things wouldn't have gone this bad. But thank God for the good news.
Well, Kenny David says it's necessary to lift the sanctions just as trade between member states can return and economic development can improve.
And Los Blancos says, laugh out loud, LOL, like they had any choice. Those countries had already moved on, and in doing so, they showed that they could do better without association. Oh. Well, you know, when it comes to, there's something called natural distribution, so that there could be interdependence, which is why this cohesion among regions is quite important. Sometimes we must be able to define who really is our enemy, because sometimes we throw our enemy status on different people. We're excited that there's a reconsideration, but that doesn't mean that the region accepts coup. But at the end of the day,
I wonder if this will be a precursor to the decision by the 3 member states to return to ECOWAS, following the letter they wrote that they were withdrawing from the regional body.
Well, ECOWAS has acknowledged it. Let's see their response. Now, let's move on to another issue. The Naira made some gains at the weekend, and a lot of people are excited. This is coming from Iliasu Buhari. Says, a very good news of the appreciation of the Naira. I hope and pray that the Naira sustains the gains. I commend those in the forefront making the effort that is yielding result. Please sustain the push. Nigeria should win.
And this one, very brief one from Nkem Chukuneta, says, Naira gaining strength for a day or two won't drive down prices. You know, and if the Naira gains strength, the question is by how much? By 3 Naira? By 5 Naira? You know where we're coming from. In May 2023, between 450 Naira to 500 Naira. But where are we now? Somewhere around 1,000, between 1,400 and 1,500 Naira.
It almost got to 2,000 at some point. That tweet is not, the person says the gain has to be sustained for weeks and months, and then market forces will surely drive prices down. Let's go to Max Vecher. Says, as the Naira is gaining strength against the dollar, you now see that the Naira wasn't the only problem, and the reason why the common Nigerian is finding it difficult to feed. Nigerians and their, okay, I won't use that word, have always been a big part of the problem, because the Naira will gain strength, but cost of goods and services will remain the same while they keep blaming dollars.
Now, Eric TC24 says, first of all, Naira hasn't exactly gained that much. We sometimes forget where we're coming from, echoing my sentiments exactly. If the Naira maintains this gain, then in weeks, the price will start reflecting as did with the raise. For market price to go back to what it was last year, Naira has to be selling at 600 Naira or less to the dollar.
Okay, baby steps perhaps is what people are celebrating. Black analyst says it takes time for the exchange rate to reflect on products when Naira gains value. And
the Prince says, I'm just hoping if the Naira gains stability and stays for some time, things should go back to normal price accordingly, and they will always blame their selfishness on old stock, last.
Osmanov says Naira is gradually gaining strength. This should continue while the CBN stiffens the policy, most especially the banks and the BDCs. Banning of usage of dollar in the country is most appropriate way Naira could gain more strength. Let's keep it up, okay? I don't know.
Well, this is another related subject that Nigerians are talking about. I guess this follows a news reported that petrol subsidy was costing government 400 billion Naira monthly.
Yes. Well,
starting with Cashel Godwin, who says, so now one can say government is spending 400 billion Naira monthly, right? Well, following the undisclosed report that subsidy is now continuing. Okay, so now what impact does this have on the citizens? Good question.
Good question. Sure Plug says, since subsidy has now been removed, what industry have they built with those money to alleviate the joblessness and unnecessary youth idleness? How can you equate job availability and job opportunities? The government has actually not come out to agree that they have removed subsidy, but we saw the IMF report saying
they have returned subsidy.
They have returned subsidy, rather. But they saw the IMF report say it's being capped. So the government has actually not come out. I don't want to use the word come clean. They've not come out to say we have. But when the expert analyze all the elements of cost and how much it should have cost you to buy your PMS, for instance, I think they say it's indicative that subsidy has been restored some way or some form. But the government continues to give us that data of fact, how much we are gaining and how much is being distributed or allocated to state and distributed to state. So,
but Jeffrey, in addition to that, there's still a very big need for more transparency in that sector, particularly for the NNPCL and the federal government to explain why there's a crawling increase in the pump price of petrol. Especially from the last time that there was an official increase.
If something goes from 615 or 610 to 650, that's not crawling. In economics, it's significant.
Yes, it's significant. So why are we experiencing this? There needs to be an explanation.
This is coming from Rabiu Garba. Since it was costing the government such huge amount from May to date, the total number of such amounts wasn't introduced to this economic crisis. There's no reason the cost that cost Nigerians to suffer this way. We're above that. We're too much for. Okay, I'm trying to say we're above that. We're too much for that.
Yeah. How much are you buying petrol, by the way? Maybe you should post at us on X and let's know from which part of the country you're writing from and how much you're buying petrol per liter. This one is from Franco World, and he says, why should subsidy costing government 400 billion naira monthly? Well, why should subsidy cost? We have the crude. Why not reach agreement to pay with crude? For example, supply 100% barrels to refinery and we receive 70% to 80% of the refined products. Then NNPC with the government controls the market price. Be honest.
Sometimes not as simplistic. I guess that's what will be the answer sometimes. Tony says, show us evidence of savings made from subsidy removal. What project has been executed or ongoing? When will the promised CNG buses arrive the country? We have suffered enough to be patient. I agree. Nigerians have been through the receiving end. Different administration come with different terminology. This administration is saying, calm down, be patient, things are going to work. Remember, in administration, there was austerity measure. The people were doing austerity, but the government wasn't doing austerity. And now we've seen it again. That's why the people are shouting. Simple things the people are asking. For instance, when they were shouting, why are you buying big cars for the National Assembly? The people expect you not to buy those big cars. That's how they will feel that you're listening. From the presidency to the National Assembly, there are certain baby steps they want to see in terms of fiscal discipline that they want to believe that you're really serious about changing their lives. Okay.
Speaking of CNG, the Senate is investigating the disbursement of 100 billion naira to the private sector, members of the private sector who are partnering with government, for the release of, for the implementation of the CNG initiative. So, but we are asking the Senate to wrap up on that very quickly. Nigerians are running out of patience. This one is from Steve Loving, and he says, FG should be able to tell Nigerians that subsidy removal will be used for Project A, B, C, which will impact the lives of Nigerians positively.
And JP says even after its removal, the economy is still worse than it was when we still have it, or when we still had it. My question remains, what happens to the 400 billion naira saved monthly? They shared it amongst the tiers of government. I have a straight answer. So what happened is we made as much as 1.9, 1.7. But if you put all of that in money into the economy, we're already dealing with inflation. So you don't want too much money supply in the system, and it goes crazier. So what they did was hold back a few of the billions, maybe 900 billion, 700 billion, and share 1 trillion or 1 point something trillion among the states. So it is not just the federal government that should answer this question. Your local government,
governors should answer the questions.
In fact, I wish I have time. You can go to budget and all of that, find out how much comes to your local government every month. You will be shocked. Well, that's what we've been tracking for you on X. Don't forget, WhatsApp is also a place you can share your thoughts and views. We will be reading it later on the show. But for now, we'll switch gears to our first conversation for the day. Join us again.
We'll be right back.